Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, guiding you through the trails of Glacier National Park. And in this episode, we're off trail. We're planning for the trail. We're talking about essential equipment for day hikes in Glacier National Park. And there's a lot to consider. So we really want to help and be a resource for you to think this through and not miss out on anything, because you've got to be prepared for it all. And it will make your experience so much better in a lot of ways. And so we're going to kind of start here from the ground up and hit some, fairly obvious pieces of equipment, that you need, or apparel, and then get into eventually some of our favorite, somewhat unique things that we make sure we have that you might enjoy. And so we'll kind of start with the obvious, from the ground up. Hiking boots. You're going to need something that really is pretty rugged. And you can try these out ahead of time. You've heard it over and over. Don't buy a pair of hiking boots and wear them the first time on a 10, 15, 20 mile hike. It's not comfortable. You've got the blisters. The hiking boots you want to have, and you want to break them in before a hike in Glacier National Park. But there's a couple of different kinds, and we usually have a pair of each. Some of them are ventilated, have a lot of airflow, and some are waterproof, and some claim to be both. That's difficult. But Sarah, it depends on the season. It depends on the hike you're embarking on. But sometimes it's great to be cool, and sometimes, you want to be able to trudge through water and, wet vegetation.
Yeah, and know what works for you. I have friends that like to wear trail runners when we're hiking. I think it all depends on the miles you're about to cover that day. If we're going to be on the trail for a long time, then I tend to wear my higher boots. And especially if we're going up and down scree fields, I feel like that helps with any, ankle rolling, talus, traversing type stuff, So it all depends on what you're used to. And as Josh mentioned, don't go out and try something new and buy something and then go out on the trail, because you don't know how your feet are going to handle that. So go out and test them out on little local spots first, and before you hit the trail in backcountry areas. Yep.
We'll always make recommendations. Find what works for you, but I love Oboz out of Bozeman, Montana, and Sarah, I know, works well with Sportiva. There's some great brands that you can try. Inside the boot, socks, plus extra socks. I will say it again, socks, maybe 3 times, plus extra socks. Don't skimp here. You can change your socks. They're so easy to carry. It just, from the ground up, it makes such a difference. And, spend as much as you need to here to get the right socks and carry an extra one. And often we'll change at a high point. So if we're going up and down, it makes a lot of sense to me. You're going up, you're sweating, the sock you want to change it before you go down so you're not slipping inside of your boot.
Yeah, that's where you cause blisters. So good socks are important, and you can test that out. I tend to wear a thinner Smartwool sock or Omniwool sock, and you tend to wear a little bit thicker. So it depends on what you like and what works well for you and the shoe that you're wearing. So test it out.
And for sure, as you clothe the rest of yourself, moisture-wicking, breathable layers are essential. Don't wear a cotton shirt. Everybody will know exactly how much you're sweating on your back, where your pack sits. But you've got to have something, maybe a short sleeve, a long sleeve, and a sun shirt. Those are very popular these days. Light, breathable, moisture wicking. They dry quickly, especially when you get up high and the breeze is flowing. It just feels terrific. And you've got to make sure that you have those. It'll make you so much more comfortable. In addition, over the top of that, we've said it before, it's for us, it's just a one word, and we know we're talking a puffy. And what we mean here is a vest or a coat, packable. I mean, a lot of these you can pack into one of the pockets on this piece of clothing. And it's so easy to bring, and you'll want it. You get up high, and it's amazing how much the temperature can change. I mean, you've got 10, 20 degrees, truthfully, that it will change, and you need to have something that you can pull out and put on. I always have a warm hat and gloves. Like, it seems like winter, but even in the midst of summer, it's great to have those, because it's so cold and so windy at the high points, even in the height of summer.
Yeah, I often like to have some sort of, wind blocker that can also be used as a waterproof layer too. You can double up on some of these so you don't have to pack as much. So I have, an REI jacket that is kind of lightweight, but it often blocks the wind really, really well. And if it does happen to rain, I can whip that out too and wear it.
Yeah, the rain shell is essential. I like outdoor research. Pants sometimes. We've talked in other episodes about vegetation hanging over the trail. And if it's wet, that water just goes right down into your shoe, into your sock. And we've plenty of times been squishing along on a beautiful day just based on the vegetation and the dew. But of course, you need a day pack, and we like Osprey. They're measured in liters, so pay attention to that. I've got one that's 35, and Sarah's got a 24, and that seems to be enough for us. Sometimes we can help each other, but that's about as much as you would probably need for a day hike.
Well, and I love the design, the newer design of the Osprey pack. Well, I shouldn't say newer because my pack's old, but I've had a couple different versions of Osprey over the years, but the one that we have now has the sweat wicking layer in the back, like the netted area.
Yep. It makes all the airspeed. I love it. It's called the airspeed, and it just keeps that pack off of your back.
And I just wanted to mention too, you talked about, taking, getting soaked when you're on the trail. I have some rain pants that are super packable. Like they pack down into my hand. Mm-hmm. They weigh nothing. And I have that in my pack all season because you just never know if you're out hiking in the winter and it's snowing, you can put that on as a waterproof layer. If it happens to be raining in summer hiking, you can put that on, or you're going through wet vegetation, you can, it's just, I think that's an important piece to have.
Essential year round. And you'll notice a lot of these things you can pack down into the size of your fist because it's a long list, but you're going to likely need most of it. Of course, you need a hat, sunglasses, sunscreen. Did you know, here in the mountains, it makes a difference. You're higher up, there's a thin atmosphere, less air for absorption, reflective surfaces too. Snow, we talk a lot of times passing through snow and water, and that makes a difference in the drier climate with a little wind. A breeze, it feels less intense, so you underestimate the sun's power. Make sure you have something to protect you there. And as you're walking, obviously water bottles are a reservoir. Sarah and I differ a little bit on this. She likes the Nalgene bottles, and I like the reservoir with the straw. It's easy, it's convenient, but it sometimes has a bit of a plastic taste, and Sarah, you just can't stand that.
No, and sometimes Nalgene bottles have that as well. I like to have a little packet of something, either an electrolyte. So if I'm filtering water, I think my head, even though we hike in some of the cleanest water in the world, I sometimes overthink things. And so I'm like, after I filter and I take a drink, I'm like, am I tasting anything? I don't know. So sometimes it's helpful to have one of those electrolyte packets you can slip in, or a little water flavoring that has no sugar or anything, very healthy. You can put in there and shake it up, and it kind of takes away that plastic taste.
Yeah, and the wide mouth bottle works great when you're filtering water into it. You're eating, you're drinking, you bring more snacks than you think you need. It's nothing worse than getting to the end toward a long full day hike, and you just run out of gas because you don't have anything to replenish. And small bars, trail mix, the obvious things are great. Think about your salt content, and something that you won't get sick of. Over the years, we've changed because for a while something is perfect, and then you've eaten so much of it that you're just ready to move on, and that's okay because there's a million choices out there. And
you can be creative too. You can make your own little gorp or, trail mix there, where you can go to the store and get bulk stuff. And that's actually a cheaper way of going about it and make your own little, mix. Carbs are, I think, pretty essential when you're out hiking on the trail. It helps keep your energy up. And as you mentioned, something a little bit salty, that helps when it's hot out to kind of replenish those salts that you're losing from sweating.
Mm-hmm. And trekking poles over the years, we find such a great accessory, helping you with momentum on the way up and slowing you on the way down. And we like the cork handles. I've got some REI, trekking poles, like the levered clip versus the twist. You want that tight so you're not dealing with it coming loose. And then bear spray. You've got to have bear spray here in Glacier Park. It's your best protection. We've talked about it in another episode. In fact, check that out for sure. We spoke with Tim and Rachel Manley, bear management specialists in this area, about more specific usage and preparation and knowledge about using bear spray. And there are a couple of great episodes. You need to listen to those if you're going to head out in Glacier.
I just want to touch on the hiking poles thing too. It's not only for helping your legs, but I think it's also great stability for crossing, snow fields if you encounter any to help keep you up so you don't slip.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if something does happen, a first aid kit, is essential. Just basic items. I mean, something to wrap up a sprained ankle or a Band-Aid to stop some bleeding, or some, cleaning products or disinfectant, to make sure it doesn't ruin your day. But
yeah, and if you're hiking with a group, you can share these items too, so you don't have to carry as much. So I have a girlfriend that she's always got a heavy first aid kit on her. And so I know when I'm hiking with her, I don't have to carry as much, which is nice, great. Unless for some reason we get separated or something. It's always good to have something on you, of course, but...
So thanks, Alicia, for usually having that.
Yes, trail mom.
But
she's
so
great.
We've covered most of the essential equipment. We're going to get into some of the things specifically that we like that are optional. But we'll take a short break. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Ever notice how a good trail mix has all the right stuff? Nuts for energy, raisins for sweetness, chocolate because chocolate. At Freedom Bank, we've got the right mix too. Personalized service, smart solutions, and technology to bank from anywhere in the Flathead Valley or beyond. Proud sponsor of Hiking Fools, because life's better with good snacks and a great bank. Member FDIC.
Welcome back. We are the Hiking Fools, and we have been discussing essential equipment for day hikes. We've covered most of that, and we want to get into some optional items that have, been very valuable to us that not everybody might think about. But we've talked about the basics, what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat and drink, and our friend Matt brought up a terrific point of freezing your drinks, your liquids prior to going, so that as you hike, they melt, but they're still cold. And you can put these next to any lunch items, a sandwich or something, and it acts as an ice pack, so there's multiple use, and it's a very smart way to go about it. But getting back into it, I mean, you're gonna want a compass or a map, or maybe both. We love those National Geographic Trails Illustrated maps, and there's one for each section of the park. And so you'll find those wherever you're gonna spend your time. It's useful to have. You can see the valleys and the peaks and the terrain and the topography, and you can see what's around you and reference things. Say, I wonder what that peak is. You can figure that out. In fact, a phone is a great thing to have for a number of reasons, but hiking apps are tremendously helpful. Sarah, I know you like to pull up Gaia on your phone. A lot of people use All Trails. There's a National Parks app. It's very useful. And I, of course, like Peak Finder. I can just spin around 360 degrees and know exactly where I'm standing and which peaks we're looking at. And it's so fun to see them from different angles, because a lot of times they look different, but then you feel like you intimately know that specific mountain. And of course, the phone is the thing to have. I mean, to take pictures. Phones these days have such great cameras, and you can use it for multiple purposes. And a camera, unless you're really, really serious about getting close-up shots and need a big zoom lens, sometimes it's just too much to carry. And I know we've switched from. Speaking of, does anybody want to buy a Nikon? Sarah has one.
No, I'm not selling.
All right.
I love it.
But use your phone, take pictures, easy to share. It's just an essential item on a hike. So now getting into some sort of optional items, a water filter Sarah talks about on many of our shows. We like those Katadyn water filters. They have various sizes. They're easy to use. We've seen others, there's straws, life straws, and, something that attaches to the top of a bottle. Our favorite are these Katadyn. They collapse down so much, so easily. They're so light.
Yeah. How do you pronounce that again?
Katadyn.
Yeah, that's right. I love those. When I filter, I have my big Nalgene open, and you can fill, your Camel Pack or whatever you have open next to the water source, and I take off the filter and I scoop it up and try to get, in a clean area. Standing water will still work too, but, cleaner the better. And then I reattach my filter and I dry off the outside of my filter.
She thinks of these things.
I do. I dry it all off on my shirt, because as you turn it over and you're squeezing it, and you're filling up your Nalgene or whatever you got, you don't want anything dripping from the outside going in and contaminating your water. A lot of the waters here in Glacier are glacier fed, and so they're super clean, but you just never know what's upstream. An animal could have gone to the bathroom in the water or could have died, or you just never know. So it's always important to filter.
You can always tell by looking. Yeah, it looks as clear as can be. Speaking of phone, and your maps and compass, some satellite communications and hiking climbing guides are very important. We use the Garmin Messenger. It's small. It has an extra long battery life. And what I like about it is it's a seamless text string. So you can start a text on your phone with your contacts. And then when you're in the backcountry or out of service, you can use the Garmin Messenger and it stays in one conversation. So it's very easy for everybody to kind of keep track of what you're doing. And it's not two different sources and you don't have to check both, as you're throughout your hike, even when you're out of service. And so I love that. Some of them have, if you need navigation too, some other iterations of the Garmin have navigation on it. This works well for us. And, using it in conjunction with a hiking climbing guide. There are so many, the Falcon Guide, Blake Passmore's books of climbing glacier. He's got a couple of volumes. And another idea that a couple of friends have turned me onto is taking photos of the pages. So you can either bring a book with you. It takes a little more space, a little heavier, and you've got to flip to the pages, or you can take screenshots of the pages and the information that you need and just pull it up on your phone, even if you don't have service, and figure out where you are, what you need to do. And it's much easier, and kind of multi-use device is much easier than carrying that book with you.
And with all this talk about use of the phone, your phone the battery life is going to die if you're not careful. So this would be a good time to discuss, what can we bring to keep our phone charged? There's a couple different things out there. What do you got, Josh?
Sure. A power bank is a great thing to have and just throw in there with a USB connection. Solar charger. We've got something that if you're out there for a little bit longer or camping, you can set it in the sun and charge it up. But those power banks are terrific, whether it's for your watch or your phone. Easy to use and, great and almost essential for longer hikes if you want to make sure you have that communication, you have that that photo taking device, as we've mentioned. It's great to have. Another thing that's easy to carry are some carabiners, some larger carabiners. You can connect things to the outside of your pack if you don't have space. The little bit larger and the very strong carabiners from Black Diamond, we've got a couple hanging on each of our packs and use those a lot. So think about it. I like to talk about the space, weight, value consideration, things like socks, things like a water filter, a rain shell, gloves, these are things that take up hardly any space and they weigh hardly anything, but the value is so high that these are things that make sense to put in your pack. And I think Sarah talked about it. Leave them in there. You don't want to have to repack all of these items every time you go out for a hike. Leave some things in your pack, including your bear spray. And then when you grab it, the things that you need for that specific day or that specific hike, you can add, but you don't have to think about every one of these things every time.
Yeah. And when I grab my pack from where we have it stored and I'm getting ready for a hike, I take everything out again, honestly, and I look at everything and I evaluate. I'm like, what do I need? What do I don't need? And I think I put everything back in that I've taken out. And I think, how can I save weight? It's, it's kind of heavy, but you need all these items. It's so important.
And talking about some of these considerations, I do want to mention our friend Jeremy over there at the Trails Worth Hiking podcast. He's a great resource for hikes all around the world, and he focuses on multi-day hikes and stayovers. We're talking mostly about Glacier National Park, but there are other resources out there, and he's one of our favorites to understand and learn more about hikes around the world. But he's got some fun little prompts about what you need on hikes. And another thing, depending seasonally, Sarah, we've got to mention cleats or spikes and get serious about these. No yak tracks, no little kind of cheap things. You want to make sure that if you're going to use these and if you think you need them, that they're pretty aggressive. And so we've covered most of the things you need. Some optional equipment, inflatable seat. We really kind of like those. Takes up no room. When you get to a summit or a place of rest and you want to have lunch on a rock, you can just blow into this, inflate it, and sit down and be a little more comfortable. When we're climbing, a pair of work gloves works terrifically. It's not belay gloves. You don't need like rock climbing indoor gym gloves. They're so expensive and they'll just rip. A pair of work gloves from your local hardware store works even better with a nice leather palm, and they can be cool. You can find them that are cool too. So climbing again is almost a whole different game, but you're going to want a helmet. And another thing is rain fly for your day pack. The Osprey come with that, usually at the bottom of the pack. You can flip it up and over to cover your pack in the event of rain to keep all of this dry. And another thing, climbing, scree gaiters. And in the winter, regular gaiters make a huge difference in that little spot between your shoes and your pants, or your shoes and your shorts. Right there, they're essential. The scree gaiters keep out the pebbles. You don't have to keep changing your shoes.
But they're still breathable, which is nice.
That's right. And then they're so light, and you just want to kind of get the right one. But then, some other little things. A buff is a great thing to put around your neck or around your head. It's got a lot of uses. You can soak it in water if you're getting too cold and put it around your neck to really cool you down. A handkerchief is an excellent item.
Yeah, sometimes when we're at a pass, even in the summer when it's warm out and the wind picks up, it bothers my ears a little bit. So just slipping on that buff, but allows my head to breathe if I'm hot. I use that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, great point. Another thing you use quite a bit is a pee towel. It seems funny to mention, but Piss Off is the brand that you like?
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions out there, but it's a hiking or backpacking, little pee towel. Yeah, those towels are great. They're antimicrobial, and you can clip them on the outside of your pack. And they've got 2 little snaps for the holder and also to fold them in half and keep them clean. We practice the leave no trace. You don't want to leave any toilet paper out in the forest. So that is a way of navigating that. I love them. When you go home, you put them in, a laundry bag, wash them, hang them up, and reuse them again. I have several of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing, one last thing, chapstick. I mean, it's so dry out here. It's so windy. It's just a tiny little item that'll make you comfortable. So hopefully all of this is helpful. Don't forget your chacos and a cooler in the car for afterward. It's terrific when you get done with the hike to take off those hiking boots, take off those socks, and just let your feet breathe and say, what a day. And so just keep something in the cooler, something special, a coconut water, protein shake.
Chips and salsa.
Something salty. Sarah loves it. So that's a pretty comprehensive list of everything that you might need on a day hike in Glacier. And if you get a chance, check us out on Instagram at HikingFoolsMT. Let us know what you like or if we missed anything, and also see some great photos from our recent adventures. And tune in next time. Check out more episodes. And remember to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go.